After you've done some or all of your research, you should know a pretty good amount about your topic, and you should start to have some big picture ideas taking shape, reflecting on what your main claims might be and why. That's great. However, in this video, I'm going to get into the weeds of how to actually use all that research you collected to select and insert evidence into your paragraphs in order to support your own claims. I've written a body paragraph as an example, and then I'm going to use this video to talk you through how I wrote this paragraph and how you can write one like it. So here is the example paragraph that I've written. Please pause the video and take a minute to read this paragraph. As always, be sure to look up any words you don't know. Okay, great. Let's chat about the structure of this paragraph first. The first sentence of this paragraph, of course, is my topic sentence. This is where I make my main claim, and I use the rest of my paragraph to support and connect to that claim. My claim here states that, quote, "The bicycle helped spark early feminist movements because it gave women newfound mobility." Basically, I'm arguing that bicycles were really important to these early feminist movements, something that other people might disagree with. Some people might say bicycles were not that important and that 19th century feminism would have happened regardless of the bicycle. But we see that this is my main claim, and everything afterwards supports that idea. Now, I want to be really sure that you understand that I didn't just sit down and write that paragraph as it is now. That paragraph has undergone several rounds of revision across a few different days, and you should expect to do the same. So let's break down the steps that I took to write it so you can follow these steps too. The first thing that I recommend that you do is to write out a draft claim so that you have some idea of the argument you're trying to support. My draft claim was, bicycling was important to feminism. It's a little vague and general, but it's just a draft, so who cares? Then, go back to your research notes and jot down any evidence you've found that relates to your claim. I would copy and paste any interesting quotes, statistics, photographs, etc. that relate to your claim, and then put them in a bulleted list below your draft claim. Here's an example of how I did it. Pause the video if you'd like to read through my evidence here. You probably recognize some of it from the paragraph you read a minute ago. Okay, now the evidence that you pull might look very different from mine. You might have evidence from your personal experiences or from social media posts, interviews, statistics, journal articles. That's all great. It's all evidence. Just jot down anything that you can think of and take some time to do it. So, of course, from here, I actually had to write a paragraph. So what I did was I wrote down my draft claim. Then I selected a couple of key pieces of evidence that I thought best supported my claim. You should do the same when you write a paragraph. Again, pause the video to read this first draft paragraph that I wrote. Okay, as you can see, I wrote down my claim and then I inserted evidence after my claim. The lines in blue are the first piece of evidence, and the lines in green are a second piece of evidence. You should use as many pieces of evidence as you need to. Maybe you'll use one really wonderful example with lots of details, or maybe you'll use several statistics. Just think about what will best convince your audience. You also probably see here in this draft paragraph that I didn't use all the evidence that I'd brainstormed before, and that's okay too. I've got a claim and evidence. Great. But the paragraph isn't done at that point. I need to write more sentences to connect my evidence to my claim. Don't just assume your reader will draw those connections themselves. Also, I have to be sure to introduce and explain any quotations I have included. I need to give context for them. So this is a really important step too. After I add in all those extra sentences, then I need to take my final step. I have to revise my language to make it more concrete and specific and clear. My draft claim stated that, quote, bicycling was important to feminism. But what does that even mean? How was bicycling important? When, where, why? Ask yourself the 5 W's to be sure you're being clear, both in your claim and in the rest of your paragraph. Only after I take all 5 of those steps do I get to the paragraph that you read at the beginning of this video. You're welcome to pause the video to read it again here if you like. Can you see where I've written sentences that connect the evidence to my main claim? So again, here are the 5 steps to use to build a paragraph based on your research. Number 1, write out a draft claim. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Number 2, jot down any evidence you can use to support that claim. Really just, find whatever you can that might be related to it. Number 3, create a paragraph with the claim followed by evidence. Here you want to be a little pickier about the evidence that you choose. Number 4, connect the evidence to the claim by adding context, explanation, and reasoning. And maybe you decide here to, get rid of some evidence that you wrote because you find that it doesn't quite connect. That's totally fine too. Number 5, revise your word choice. This is a very important step so that your writing is clear and makes sense to your reader. Remember too that you can use these steps for writing about any topic for any class or any job. It's not just for my class. Remember also that writing is a process, and what ends up on the page is only a small part of the effort that you put in. And that's how it's supposed to be if you're doing it right.